into the fascism, but it is moving towards slowly towards the fascism. So apart from that one, we have recently seen that Venezuela was attacked, and that President Maduro and his wife were captured and abducted. That like Ravana captured Zeta, but here Maduro and his wife both were captured and abducted. So that is the trend going on in the entire world. The same trend is being followed by Trump, followed by Modi also. Whatever Trump is doing in the world, in our country, the Modi is walking in the footsteps of the Trump. This is the danger. This is the perversion of the danger in the country. We should face it up. So while facing such draconian laws, draconian rule of this fascist and religious rulers, I hope that I request you to move a fruitful discussion to understanding of the people, and I hope that we will have a very, very fruitful conclusion also, and ultimately that conclusion must pave the way for the united actions, as well as that united actions must lead, whether there must be some differences, but always I have been demanding for that. I have been requesting all the left-wingers on every platform that ultimately our unification must lead to the merger of all left parties, all red flags, and all red flags must become one red flag. Then we should be able to hoist our red flag at red fort. With that way we will move. Now I request Comrade D. Raja, our General Secretary CPI, I request him to inaugurate this seminar with his remarks and with his perception. I call Raja to inaugurate this one.
సంపదంత పుట్టే కష్టజీవి శకటలో ఏ శకట తీయనో తెలుగుతున్నదో త్యాగం చేసి అమరుల ప్రాణాల పెళ్ళెత్తుకున్నదో
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. మరియు Khammam, Khammam district CPI four left parties of this country, as well as Comrade David, General Secretary of CPI, Senior member of Mallu Bhatti of India, and Mallu Bhatti leader as well as General Secretary of AITC, Rao Sanjay Rao, Rao Musrao, and the Lions of CPI, Mallu Bhatti of India. On behalf of particularly on behalf of Khammam district secretary, I request either CPIM or CPI or ML party. So that was the strength of the CPI in this.
In Telangana and Andhra, this subject is very critical one. India today and the challenges before the left. Before getting into the subject, I would like to take this opportunity to pay our revolutionary greetings to Comrade C. Rajesh Rao, Comrade Rajshekar Reddy, Comrade Giri Prasad, Comrade N.R. Dasari, Comrade Durgam, Comrade Ravinarayan Reddy, Comrade Basopurnaya, Comrade Sundaraya, and galaxy of the left leaders who built the left movement, the communist movement in this region. When the whole country was under colonial rule, this region was under Nizam rule. Everyone knows the history, and here the communists built a militant revolutionary mass movement, Kisan struggle, not only fighting against Nizam rule, fighting against colonial rule for the independence of the country. I take this opportunity to pay our salutes, revolutionary salutes to those great leaders who built the communist movement in this region. Comrades, we have chosen this subject, India today, the challenges before us. India today should be understood properly. Our colleagues from other parties will also speak on this subject. Now, India had won the independence because of the supreme sacrifices made by the communists. We had won the liberation from the colonial rule, from small kingdoms like Nizam. Today we are an independent nation. But what is the condition of post-independent India? We must understand this. the global political situation is horrific. The way American imperialist power is acting is a big challenge, not only for the left, but for the Democrats all over the country. Because imperialism is in deep crisis. It means world capitalism is in deep crisis. As the French scholar Thomas Piketty has defined, the neoliberal economic policies are led to unprecedented inequalities among the nations and within the nation. Within the nation, any nation, India is facing such a situation, unprecedented inequalities. When our party was formed in the year 1925, we were under British Raj, British rule. Today, we are under BJP Raj. What is BJP Raj? BJP is the political wing of RSS. RSS is also celebrating its centenary, as we are celebrating our centenary. But RSS never fought for the independence of the country. In fact, RSS was compromising, collaborating with colonial rulers. Our comrades, they laid their lives. How many communists were hanged? How many communists were shot dead? How many communists were put in prison for long period and subjected to unimaginable tortures? Only history will tell. Our history. Every page of our history has been written with the blood and sweat of thousands of communists in this country. We must be proud of that history. We are a proud history. Communists built this country and communists fought for the independence of the country. Today, we have a right-wing fascist government. Right-wing government, that is BJP. And this right-wing government is trying to rewrite our history, redefine the Indian nation. Communist Party of India, the communist leftists, we are fighting for a new India. That new India should be a classless India, a casteless India, a socialist India. When party was formed at Kanpur, Comrade Singaruvelu, at that point of time itself, referred to the untouchability that prevailed in India. So what are the challenges as Indian society we are facing today? We are Marxist-Leninists. We believe the Marxist-Leninist ideology, the theory should be applied to Indian conditions, the social realities in India. The Communist Party of India has been consistently referring to these challenges. We have the class as a challenge. Now, new developments are taken place. When Karl Marx was writing Capital, he didn't have computer or laptop as we have today. He had to write in his own handwriting. And interestingly, here women comrades are there, they should know his handwriting could be read only by two persons properly. One person, his own wife, Jenny Marx. The other person his great friend Frederick Engels. These two persons could read Marx's handwriting. Now we are in the age of artificial intelligence. What is that? Artificial intelligence. We are in the age of artificial intelligence. That has been impacting the production process, the production relations, the productive forces. That has been changing the economic development. This all we should understand. It is a new era. New era. In this new era, what are the challenges we face? We call it new era, but there are challenges. Number one, class. It means division of labor, division of laborers, division of labor and division of laborers. That is continuing in India. How to fight against all forms of class exploitations, class enslavement. How to unite all sections of working people, both informal, formal sector, overcoming all divisions. This is a challenge. This continues to be a challenge. Mobilizing the working people, politicalizing the working people. It is a big challenge before left today. We should understand. Then the question of caste prevails everywhere across the country. It is a big challenge before the left. How to fight annihilate caste? We should think of. Because you all know caste is an hierarchical society. The science is very clear. The ethics of Indian civilization are very clear. Birth is same to everybody. We are all born from the womb of mother. When we are born, we don't born as upper caste, lower caste, or Brahmins, untouchables. No, we born as children. Then how come the caste emerges? And this is in the mind of people. Even modern Bhagavad RSH, it tells caste is in the mind. What is that mind? How the caste enters into mind? Who forces caste into the mind of the people? Who divides? Who divides the people in the name of caste? That is what Dr. Ambedkar, during his time, he not only fought against caste system, he called upon the people to fight for annihilation of caste. Caste should be annihilated from our society. We are all human beings, and we should live as human beings, having love and compassion towards each other. When democracy is questioned, discussed, everybody refers to Abraham Lincoln. It is Abraham Lincoln who said, knowledge to none, compassion to all. Knowledge to none, compassion to all. This is what Abraham Lincoln said. But in India, we face caste. In the name of caste, how atrocities are taking place. Even a shadow of a little girl fell on somebody. That little girl happened to be a Dalit. She was lynched. Can we tolerate such evils in our country? I can go on narrating the caste atrocities, but the point is, caste is a challenge before the left movement to unite the people. How caste exploitation is challenged before the left movement, caste is another challenge before the left movement. We have to fight against caste system, the evil of caste. As Ambedkar said, we have to fight for annihilation of caste. Then comes the patriarchy. Now women are sitting here. Why atrocities against women are increasing? Why women do not get equal status in our society? Why women are treated as inferior? This patriarchy, how it is leading to atrocities against our women. How our women are lynched, tortured. Any state you take, you will come across such incidents. So patriarchy is another big challenge before the left. So we have been continuously referring to these challenges because these are all issues on which we have to continue long-term battle, struggle. We have to continue. We have to unite people. We have to liberate people from that mindset, whatever may be. So we have to unite the people to fight against economic exploitations, to fight against social discriminations. These are now challenges before Indian left. Politically, at this point of time, we are facing challenge from BJP RSS. What is the challenge? We continue to argue India is a secular democratic republic. And RSS, BJP do not agree with the idea of secularism. They do not agree. And they are arguing even the constitution, the preamble should be thrown out, constitution should be thrown out. What is the meaning of secularism? What is the meaning of socialism? They don't agree. So they challenge the present constitution which we have today. And I don't need to enter into the history of drafting of Indian constitution. When Indian Constituent Assembly was constituted, we should have the drafting of Indian constitution. There were several names considered. Jawaharlal Nehru got a few names. One name was Dr. Ambedkar. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru went to Gandhi, showed the names and asked him, who can be the head of drafting committee of constitution? Mahatma Gandhi, without any blinking, immediately said, Dr. Ambedkar, he picked Dr. Ambedkar. That's how Dr. Ambedkar became the chairman of drafting committee of constitution. He is the prime architect of our constitution, principal architect of our constitution. Ambedkar at the beginning itself made it clear, India can never become, should never become a theocratic nation. India should remain a secular democratic republic. That was the stand taken by Ambedkar. That was how it has been put in the constitution. Ambedkar was very clear, emphatically, he rejected the so-called Hindutva Rashtra or Hindu Rashtra. Ambedkar said, if such a thing becomes reality, that will be the biggest calamity for the nation. So Ambedkar rejected that idea of religion-based nation, religion-based state. theocratic nation, theocratic state. Ambedkar rejected. But today, BJP, RSS, they are trying to make India as a theocratic nation, Indian state as a theocratic state. But Ambedkar and galaxy of those leaders made it clear, Indian state should be a welfare state. Welfare state. What is that welfare state? The constitution makes it clear. Indian state shall ensure all means of livelihood to all citizens, men and women. This is part of the constitution. Now what Modi is doing? Modi is doing Vikshit Bharat G Ram G. Can you spell the words? Ram G. What is this Ram G? And taking away the livelihood of the people, poor people in the rural part of our country. And now, not only that, now the Modi government has passed the legislation to impose labor codes, 4 labor codes. What is this taking away of the rights of trade union movement, rights of working people in this country? That is why today there is a challenge before left to safeguard the constitution itself. The very constitution is under threat, and left is having this challenge, how to save the present constitution, how to save the present constitution, which defends India as a secular republic, democratic republic, Indian state as a welfare state. One more thing we can go ahead. It is constitution which defines India as a federal country, Indian government as a federal government. India, that is Bharat, union of states. That is what constitution says. In fact, Ambedkar originally went to the extent of saying India, United States of India. But when he drafted the constitution, he agreed India, that is Bharat, union of states. Now, under Modi, under BJP, the government is snatching away all the powers, rights of the elected state governments. Then what is happening? Now even the right to vote will remain as fundamental right of the citizens, has become a question mark after the exercise, special intensive revision of voter rolls. Again, I refer to Ambedkar. The Indian Republic began its journey ensuring all adult franchise to all citizens. The citizens must have right to vote, and at the age of voting right, initially it was 21 years, now it is 18 years. 18 years. That 18 years also because of communist intervention, the union government agreed to reduce voting right. It was at the time of Chandrapan. He was in parliament. He took up the issue through a private member bill. That is how voting right was reduced from 21 to 18. Now, Modi government is taking away the voting right. If right to vote is denied, then where is democracy? Where is democracy? This is another challenge we are facing today. Another challenge we are facing today. And Parliament is not working as Parliament, vibrant Parliament. Ambedkar said, Parliament is the supreme institution in our democracy, representing the sovereign will of the people. Sovereign will of the people. Now, what is happening in Parliament? Whether Parliament represents the sovereign will of the people, the right wing, the fascist forces who have captured the power, they are trying to change the character of Indian state. They are undermining the Parliament and making it redundant. Then where is democracy? This is another challenge before the left, another challenge before the left. So I can go on adding challenges. At the ideological level, we have challenges, and the way RSS is spreading the politics of hatred, polarizing the people, dividing the people, pitting one section against another in the name of religion, in the name of caste. How to fight this? It is an ideological challenge, and the left has to project its ideology and place its ideology as the best alternative to unite the people, to keep the people in harmony. That is the challenge we face today. That is the challenge we face today. And there are challenges of livelihood. And Modi claims India has become fourth largest economy. And people are questioning that also, whether India can be considered as fourth largest economy, whether India can stand up with China, whether India can stand up against America. When Trump is making such provocative statements, Modi does not open his mouth, and Indian government keeping quiet, shameless, they are maintaining silence. That's what is happening. That's why, as far as economy, livelihood concerns, we are challenged. We have to protect the livelihood of the people, and it is the challenge before the left. Only we can fight uncompromisingly against right-wing forces, BJP, RSS combined. Only left can fight uncompromisingly, projecting its ideological positions, and we are fighting, and we will continue to fight. And here the left must stand united, and we must fight united, and we are going to face very critical elections in the beginning of this year. Kerala will have elections, and it is a challenge before us. We should win the elections in Kerala. We should retain the LDF government in Kerala, because this is important, and that is the only left government in the whole country, and we should win elections in Kerala. West Bengal, we should revive our strength. The left should emerge as a force to be reckoned with. Nobody can ignore the left in West Bengal, and we must emerge as a force. And Tamil Nadu, we are part of a secular coalition, but BJP is trying all its manipulative tactics to somehow disrupt the unity of secular democratic forces and to divide the people. There also, it is not land of Korea, but BJP is not keeping quiet. There also, we should see that BJP doesn't get any foothold in Tamil Nadu. That is a challenge before the left in Tamil Nadu. Puducherry also, the same thing, Puducherry also, Assam also, where the left should have reasonable presence in assemblies. We are agreeing to work under parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary democracy means the left parties must have reasonable presence in parliament, in state legislative assemblies. It is a big challenge. It's a big challenge before the left, and we have to think over. Here, the left parties must work together, must have mutual trust, must have mutual accommodation at the time of elections in the states, and our united effort is neither the other. The strength of left should improve, strength of communists should improve. Unity of left, unity of communist movement is neither the necessary today. Indian democracy needs left should be a strong force. Communists should be a strong force. The unity of left, unity of communists must be strengthened. As far as unity of left, unity of communists, we have been very consistent. CPI has been consistent. It was Comrade Rajeshwara who made open call for the reunification of the communist movement. We have been working together. And when Comrade Sujit was General Secretary, after that Comrade Prakash Karat, Comrade Sitaram Yechury, we have been working together, and Comrade Deepankar, we have been working together, Comrade Devarajan, we have been working together all along, but now we must move forward. And we should not allow anybody to question what is the future of Indian left. What is the future of Indian left? I used to say the future of India is the future of Indian left. Without us, what is the future of India? Ask them. Without left, what is the future of India? So future of India is linked with future of left. And we left should work together, unitedly, fight together, unitedly, and see the right-wing BJP government is removed from office as early as possible. And this understanding should be there with the other secular democratic parties also. How to convince other secular democratic parties, how to bring them in the united movement, united action. That is also a big challenge, and I would hope the left parties can overcome that difficulty, and we can play an important role in impacting on secular democratic parties to have better clarity, and fight against right-wing forces. So, comrades, there are number of challenges, but we must be confident. The left should be the force which has utmost confidence. If left is not there, what will happen to our country? We have seen Venezuela, Bolivarian revolution, Chavez. After Chavez it is Maduro. Now the American imperialist power shamelessly waged war. Now India, we have betrayed the global south, and only left can champion the needs of global south, and global south will have to emerge as a force in order to shape the global political course. So, friends and comrades, we will have to think with all seriousness about the future, not only of India, of the world. Not only of India and the world, about left itself, future of left. If we are a strong force, we can safeguard the interests of toiling masses, the poor people, the working people, the farmers, the agricultural workers, the unemployed youth students, the women students, the children. So let us unitedly work, strengthen our movement, strengthen our people's movement and mass movement, and let us move forward. I highlighted some of the challenges, ideological, political, organizational. Now our beloved comrades are here. They will give their views. They will also give their suggestions how to strengthen the left, the communist movement in the country. So, friends and comrades, I conclude congratulating the Telangana party, Andhra party, who have organized huge mass movement on 18th day before yesterday, and it was a very, very inspiring mass movement, mass rally in Khammam. I congratulate both Andhra Party and Telangana Party for their great effort. And this seminar is attended not only by leaders of Andhra Telangana, the entire National Council of the party is present to listen to the views expressed by our federal left party leaders. So I thank everyone, and I once again give my revolutionary greetings to everyone. Thank you.
కాదు మెయిన్ పాయింట్స్ చెప్పాను. ముందుగా కమిటీ రాజేశ్వరరావు, రాజశేఖర రెడ్డి, గురుప్రసాద్, కమిటీ సుందర గారు, బసపుల్లయ్య, రాజనారాయణ రెడ్డి, వంశీ, అలాగే కమ్యూనిస్టు ఉద్యమాన్ని ఈ భారతదేశంలో నిర్మించిన వారందరికీ కూడా జోహార్లు తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాను. అలాగే ఈ నయా వలస విధానాల వల్ల భారతదేశంలో ఎన్నడూ లేనటువంటి అసమానతలు దేశం యువతల నయా వలస విధానం వల్ల అసమానతలు నెలకొన్నాయి. ఆర్ఎస్ఎస్ వలసవాదం ఈ దేశంలో స్వాతంత్ర్యం కొరకు కానీ లేకుంటే ఇతర ప్రజా సంక్షేమం కొరకు ఎటువంటి పోరాటాలు ఎప్పుడు చేయలేదు. కలోనియల్ రూల్తో అంటే వలసవాదంతో కొనుక్కోయింది. ఆ సందర్భంలో దీనికి సంబంధించి కొన్ని ఛాలెంజెస్, కొన్ని సవాళ్ళను దృష్టికి తీసుకొస్తున్నాను. ఒకటి, కార్మిక వర్గాన్ని కాపాడుకోవాలి, కార్మిక వర్గ హక్కులను కాపాడుకోవాలి, వర్గం లేనటువంటి సమాజాన్ని మనం నిర్మించుకోవాలి. రెండో ఛాలెంజ్ కుల సమస్య. భారతదేశంలో ఈ కుల సమస్యను ఎలా ఎదుర్కోవాలనేది ఒక పెద్ద సమస్య. మోహన్ భగత్ కులం అనేది మనుషులని సహజంగానే ఉంటుందనే పద్ధతిలో చెప్పారు. అసలు కులాన్ని ఎవరు క్రియేట్ చేశారు, ఎలా వచ్చింది? అందుకే ఎలిమినేషన్ ఆఫ్ క్యాస్ట్, కులాన్ని నిర్మూలించవలసినటువంటి అవసరాన్ని మన డాక్టర్ అంబేద్కర్ గారు చెప్పారు. అదొక సవాలుగా మనం స్వీకరించాలి. అలాగే మహిళల్ని వారు ఇప్పుడు కూడా న్యూనతాభావంతో మగవారి కంటే ఇంకా తాను తక్కువ భావంతో ఉండే విధంగా మహిళల్ని పరిగణిస్తా ఉన్నారు, మహిళల్ని వేధిస్తా ఉన్నారు, మహిళల్ని హత్యలు చేస్తా ఉన్నారు, మానభంగాలు చేస్తా ఉన్నారు. అది పెద్ద సవాలు ఇప్పుడు కూడా ఈ దేశంలో ఉంది. ఇంకొక సవాలు సామాజిక వివక్షత. సామాజిక వివక్షతకి ఆ సామాజిక వివక్షతో పాటు ఆర్థిక దోపిడీ, అలాగే వ్యతిరేక సామాజిక వివక్షకు పాల్పడేటువంటి శక్తులకు వ్యతిరేకంగా సర్వజనాలను అంగీకరించాలి. ఈ సందర్భంలో బీజేపీ రాజ్యాంగం పైన దాడి చేస్తా ఉంది. సెక్యులరిజం, రిపబ్లిక్ అనే భావాన్ని మేము అంగీకరించాలని చెప్పి మనం చెప్తా ఉన్నాం. హిందుత్వ రాజ్యాన్ని ప్రతిపాదించిన ఆ సమయంలోనే మన రాజ్యాంగ అసెంబ్లీలో ఆనాడు అంబేద్కర్ ఈ దేశాన్ని మతపరమైన దేశంగా ఉండటానికి వీల్లేదని ఆనాడు అంబేద్కర్ గారు చెప్పిన దాని ప్రకారమే ఇవాళ లౌకిక దేశంగా మన భారతదేశం ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు తిరిగి ఈ ఉపాధి హామీ లాంటి పథకాలను రాముడి పేరుతో వాటిని రద్దు చేసే కుట్రలకు పాల్పడతా ఉన్నారు. అదేవిధంగా భారతదేశ సమైక్యత అంటే సమాఖ్యత ఫెడరల్ వ్యవస్థ అదొక సవాలుగా ఉంది. ఫెడరల్ వ్యవస్థకి ఇవాళ తూర్పు పొడిచే విధంగా కేంద్రం రాష్ట్రాల హక్కుల్ని హరిస్తా ఉంది. అదొక సవాల్. మనం అలాగే ఓటింగ్ హక్కుని లాగేస్తున్నారు. ఎన్నో పోరాటాల వల్ల ఏ రోజున ఓటు హక్కు ఆ రోజుల్లో సంపాదించుకోవడం జరిగింది. 18 సంవత్సరాల కూడా ఓటు హక్కు కోసం ఓటు హక్కును సంపాదించడం జరిగింది. దాన్ని పలు పేర్లతో ఇవాళ ఓటు లేకుండా చేయాలనేటువంటి ఆలోచనని బీజేపీ ప్రభుత్వం చేస్తా ఉంది. పార్లమెంటుని నిరర్ధకంగా మార్చేసింది. పార్లమెంటుని ప్రజాస్వామిక వేదికగా లేకుండా చేస్తా ఉంది. ఈ దశలో మీ ప్రజలందరినీ మనం సమైక్యంగా కలిపి పోరాటాలు చేయవలసిన అవసరం ఉంది. అదేవిధంగా మోడీ 4వ ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థని చెప్తా ఉన్నారు. కానీ ట్రంప్ ఇస్తున్న స్టేట్మెంట్స్ కానీ అతను చేస్తున్న ప్రకటన పట్ల కానీ ఒక్క మాట కూడా మోడీ మాట్లాడే ధైర్యం చేయలేకపోతున్నారు. ఈ అన్ని అంశాలపైన వామపక్షాలు పోరాడుతూ ఉన్నారు. ఇంకా ఐక్య పోరాటాలు మరింత చేయాల్సినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు ఎన్నికలు రాబోతున్నటువంటి కేరళను మనం ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో కాపాడుకోవాలి. మనకు మిగిలినటువంటి లెఫ్ట్ రాష్ట్రమని దానికోసం మరింత ఐక్యంగా మనం ముందుకెళ్ళాలి. అదేవిధంగా పశ్చిమ బెంగాల్లో లెఫ్ట్ ఈనాటికి కూడా అక్కడ ప్రభావవంతమైనటువంటి లెఫ్ట్గా ఉంది అధికారం లేకుండా. దాన్ని కాపాడుకోవాలి. తమిళనాడులో కూడా మతం పేరుతో జరగడానికి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నారు. దాన్ని కూడా మనం కాపాడుకోవాలి. అన్ని లెఫ్ట్ పార్టీస్ పరస్పర విశ్వాసంతో నడవాలి. లెఫ్ట్ ఐక్యత, కమ్యూనిస్ట్ ఐక్యత, రీయూనిఫికేషన్ ఈ అన్ని అంశాలపైన మనం కలిసి నడవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. ప్రకాష్ కారత్, అదేవిధంగా దివంగత సీతారాం యేచూరి, దీపాంకర భట్టాచార్య, ఇప్పుడు బేబీ గారు, మేమందరం కలిసి పనిచేస్తా ఉన్నాం. లెఫ్ట్ లేకుండా ఈరోజు పెద్ద సవాలు మనం ఉందండి. అది లెఫ్ట్ లేకుండా భారతదేశానికి భవిష్యత్తు ఉందా, కమ్యూనిస్టు లేకుండా భారతదేశానికి భవిష్యత్తు ఉందా? ఇది మనం ఆ ప్రశ్న ద్వారా ప్రజలందరిలోకి తీసుకెళ్ళాలి. అందుకే ఐక్యంగా పనిచేద్దాం, బీజేపీని తొలగిద్దాం. అదేవిధంగా లౌకిక ప్రజాతంత్ర పార్టీలు కూడా మనలో ఎలా కలుపుకోవాలో దాని వైపు కూడా మనం కృషి చేద్దాం. ఆ విధంగా ఇవాళ ఇక్కడ జరిగేది కేవలం లెఫ్ట్ పార్టీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి సెమినారే కాదు, దేశ భవిష్యత్తుకు సంబంధించినటువంటి సెమినార్గా భావిస్తూ దీనివల్ల ఈ దేశంలో పేద ప్రజలు, యువకులు, వ్యవసాయ కార్మికులు, మహిళలు సర్వ వర్గాల ప్రయోజనాలను కాపాడే విధంగా ఈ వామపక్ష పార్టీలు, కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీలుగా మనం కలిసి ముందుకు నడుద్దామని చెప్పి తెలియజేస్తూ, మన జరిగినటువంటి 100 ఏళ్ల వేడుకను ఎంతో ఘనంగా జరిపినటువంటి తెలంగాణ, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ 2 పార్టీలకు, ప్రత్యేకించి ఖమ్మం జిల్లాకు నేను అభినందనలు తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాను. ఇది సారాంశం. Now I request Comrade Devi Garu, General Secretary of CPI, to come and deliver his speech regarding the agenda issue, India and the challenges before left.
అధ్యక్షులు, సోదరి సోదరులారా, సర్వర్కం క్రాంతి గారి అభినందనములు. Esteemed comrades representing communists and left political parties in our country, leaders, National Council members and comrades of CPI. First of all, I extend warm revolutionary greetings First of all, I convey warm revolutionary greetings to all members of Communist Party of India on the occasion of the centenary celebrations of the party, considering the meeting held in Kanpur, historically very important meeting, the first meeting to be held in India. Communists from different parts of our country coming and formally and publicly launching the work of the communists. As we all know, we refer back to the October 17 meeting held at Tashkent with M.N. Roy and other comrades including Muhammad Shafiq. That was another phase of the origin of the communist work by Indian comrades. There is no point in debating which date was more significant. The fact is that both the dates are important. And within the country, India, the first meeting was held in Kanpur, the first organized meeting of Indian communities. But earlier, as part of the Communist International, there was a meeting of less than 10 comrades, where Comrade Muhammad Shafiq was elected as the first secretary of the Indian Communist Group, which is also very important in the prevailing situation of India today. I don't have to say anything more about that. Comrade D. Raja has presented the topic in its entirety, and we all know, those of us shared this platform, we don't have any different perspective generally on most of these issues. Only when we start discussing in a nuanced manner certain aspects, there will be different perceptions. But that does not come in the way of our determination that in India today what is most important is that all of us should work together and fight together against reactionary forces. When we are all united. And in the recent past, there has been joint interventions on many issues. When in the name of dealing with terrorism and extremism, a group of comrades with whom we have very sharp political ideological difference, that is the People's War Group, Maoists, they have a different approach of continuous, persistent, armed struggle, developing bases in jungles. But while having our differences with that approach, in the present day world, in the present India, whether such a an approach of continuous perpetual armed struggle against Indian state, whether that is practical, advisable or desirable. We have our differences, all of us. But annihilating them without recognizing Indian constitutional rule of law by the powers that be, by the central government, by the union government and state governments, it is state terrorism. And they were willing to negotiate. They offered to talk. Government of India said, no talk, we will deal with you. And what they were doing with them, the Maoris, no civilized society can recognize. They are being caught and they are asked to go out of the police station or whatever temporary arrangement they make in jungles. When they move out, they are going shot dead. Then they say they have been killed in encounter. This is naked lie. This is terrorist lie that Indian governments and state governments were doing. Why I straight away started talking about this? This is a matter in which we discussed and we intervened in this matter. And we were willing to stand up and say that we have our political, ideological difference with this group. But what Government of India does is unacceptable. We tried our level best to highlight this particular point. And today, on this stage, we were discussing the Trump proposal, the so-called peace plan for Gaza, Palestine. It is a plan of continuous total occupation of Gaza. West Bank already 40% is under Israeli occupation supported by USA. And the point is, all details we all know, I don't want to elaborate. But US administration wants India to join the so-called peace plan where a board of peace is a travesty of truth. This name given, board of peace. This is a board of annihilation actually. But the state of the world is such that even United Nations is also caving in to this proposal. But India is being asked to join this board. We have independently already taken position, all the parties, left parties, that India government should not join this plan of Trump and Netanyahu and some accomplices. So, in India today, how the left should react to emerging situation. Our political task, we are all on the same page, that the biggest threat that the people of our country face today in our country, India, is the very fast, dangerous steps being taken by the union government under Narendra Modi, which is an instrument in the hands of a fascist organization, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. There can be, as communists and left parties, we may discuss. A fascist RSS is controlling this government, but can we call the state fascist now? Did India transform into a fascist country? These things are nuanced discussion that we can separately engage in. But we don't have any difference of opinion that RSS is fascistic and RSS is calling the shots and the Prime Minister is an RSS pracharak. And without any hesitation and shame, he openly stated that V.D. Savarkar is his political guru. The same Savarkar who was one of the accused in the murder of Mahatma Gandhi. So this is the real situation in India today. And we know various steps followed by Union government. Reducing Indian Parliament into a mere appendage which need to be handled by powers that be. The importance of Parliament, which Comrade Raja referred to, how Ambedkar in Constituent Assembly underlined the importance of Indian Parliament. We have our reservation about Indian Parliament also. It is not the first time that Indian Parliament has been totally disarmed and made an instrument in the hands of the ruling dispensation. During emergency we had that experience. It was almost a non-functioning parliament. But today, under fascistic RSS and their political party BJP calling the shots, entire democratic space of parliament has been totally removed. It's just being reduced into a skeleton. So defense of whatever that can be protected from the parliamentary system of functioning, we need to pay serious attention, we the left. And it is a classic understanding of those who follow Marxism that when the bourgeoisie or the right-wing political forces find the parliamentary system not convenient to their scheme of things, they will discard bourgeois democracy, parliamentary democracy and all that, and they would turn to dictatorship. Or in cases like what we are faced with in India or various other countries, they would turn to fascistic or neo-fascistic tendencies. Then it is the duty of the working class forces, it is the duty of communists and the left forces to hold high the flag of democracy when bourgeoisie discards that. So this is one of the very important responsibilities of left and communist forces. Then there are different manifestations of their turning neo-fascist or fascistic. One of the most dangerous, alarming exercise that they are taking recourse to is the so-called SIR, Special Intensive Revision of Voters List. That is how they give an expansion, but in fact it is Special Intensive Removal of various sections, inconvenient sections in society from the voter list. This is what they are doing systematically. It's in fact the way in which this is carried out, considering states' peculiarities, there will be differences. I did not give opportunity to become this a news. My vote and my wife's vote, our sons and daughter-in-laws vote all Trivandrum It was not to be found in Kerala. Then it was with lot of effort, perseverance, we could complete the formalities. Being a former member of parliament and all that, generally there is a special, we don't want for any special thing, we communists, but still in the system, it is supposed to have certain safeguards to ensure that such names are not being missed. But the Vice Admiral's case in Goa and so many other cases, this would have appeared. But that way this was not revealed. So the special intensive removal from the voters list, they have a grand plan with regard to this. All the dimensions have not been discussed in our society. Why? This special removal is happening parallel to the census exercise. And there is one very special provision related to the census organization. The decisions of the census organization cannot be questioned in any court. This is the kind of provision that is existing today. And some friends, public intellectuals, they have been discussing about this, including former Home Secretaries and senior Indian Foreign Service officers and scholars, that there could be some scheme, because the delimitation has to start on the basis of the new census. And the constitution amendment made was that the new delimitation would take place only after a quarter century, that after 2025, only after 2026 census. That originally should have been 2031 census, because census is once in 10 years. 2021 census could not take place because of COVID. But it could take place in 2023. They delayed it. Now they are doing it. What is being suspected is that before 2029 election, next Lok Sabha election has to be in 2029, the census that is taking place now, with the new technology available and the way in which RSS does various things, they know how to circumvent various motions. There can be a scenario where before 2029 they may go for delimitation also, whereby if on the basis of new census delimitation takes place, already in public sphere there has been discussion, most of the South Indian states are going to lose dozens of seats. Long and short, the overall possible impact could be the area where BJP thinks that BJP thinks, I'm sorry, I should have said RSS thinks. BJP is nothing but RSS. As per RSS calculation, if on the basis of the new census a new delimitation takes place, discarding whatever be the political result of South India with the other states, comfortable two-third majority can be organized by the RSS dispensation. This is the calculation. I don't want to go into more details about this issue. On this we need to have wider discussion, and we need to have experts and professionals who are knowledgeable about these matters to form activist groups, discussions, and we need to come out with alternate proposals to this particular situation. In fact, almost 10 days ago, there was an article in the Hindu where various possible alternatives to representation of people in various people's representatives bodies can be considered. For example, in European Parliament, countries with various populations are being represented. So a rational proportion is being worked out in the representation of European Parliament, where countries belonging to the bracket with larger population, their representation would be proportionately brought down in a reasonable manner. Similarly, countries which belong to the category with lower population, their representation to European Parliament would be brought up with a mathematically rational proportion. So various methods are there. RSS scheme of misusing the census and misusing the delimitation, which is inevitable once in 10 years, or through a constitution amendment as a special case, it was decided that it can be only after a quarter century. How we can prevent the RSS technically taking advantage of a task that is indicated in the Constitution itself. Comrades, as large ground has already been covered by Comrade Raja, as I have mentioned, we all agree there is no point repeating those things. But there was a reference made about the scuttling of the Manrekha. It is not just a question of a new nomenclature, new name being introduced. Comrade Divankar was asking me, which he may speak. I don't want to rob him of explaining that point, but to say very reasonable point. Whether we also should say the new name that they have proposed. G, Ram G. There is no need. That is one part. But the most important part is this scheme is being sought to be killed. And how this scheme came into operation? We should understand very briefly its history. Many of you know. This scheme is the work of the United Progressive Alliance, UPA government, Manmohan Singh government implemented. But on behalf of the left, with all humility, we need to set the record straight, but for the intense, protracted fight that the left put up in the UPA coordination meeting, for this project to be accepted and implemented by the UPA government, this would not have come into effect. This is the fact. Many of our comrades also don't remember this. In this, UPA chairperson also played a role. Finally, we posed the question. We are not participating in the government. That time left was over 60. We should remember, all the left parties together. And Congress leader Manmohan Singh did not have majority in Lok Sabha. It was with the support of this left. And of course other political parties also. But without the support of the left, even numerically, Manmohan Singh government would not have sustained. Then we said, by extending support, we are not asking any spoils of power. For example, we should be permitted to nominate 3-4 governors in some states. Did we ever ask? No. So we said, we want some of the problems of the people should be addressed by this government. And this is there in the election manifesto, prepared by GNRF and all that, such people help. Why don't we implement this? Then, for a project in a government, especially central government, to be accepted and implemented, 3 important people need to come together on board accepting it. Who are they? Prime Minister naturally, Finance Minister naturally. Those days there was Planning Commission also, Planning Commission Vice Chairman. Prime Minister is the Chairman. Montek Singh Ahluwalia was the Vice Chairman of Planning Commission those days. Montek Singh Ahluwalia. So Manmohan Singh he is an innocent man, personally. He was not a political man. He said, no, these funds will go waste. That's what he said. He is no more. Chidambaram was Finance Minister. He said, no, I agree with Manmohan Singh ji. This project, it will not give any help to people. We will be just wasting resources. This is what Chidambaram said. Montek Singh Ahluwalia said, this is by throwing funds down the, what is this? Down the line. എന്താണ് നമ്മുടെ ഓടയ്ക്ക് എന്താ പറയുക? ഓട drain, correct. I was being old. I was not getting the proper word. Thank you, comrade. If you want to earmark these funds for this, is just throwing money down the drain. That is the word he used. First they asked, where is the money to implement such a program? Then our comrades worked. In that, Comrade Sidaram, who is no more, he is also party of the team of the left parties, Raja, Devarajan, other RSP. We said every year you write off lakhs of crores of rupees in your budget. Don't write off. Just save those money. That is good enough. Like that we are. Anyway, let me not go into those details. So, after protracted struggle of the left, this also gives the reply why there should be a left. But for the left, this Manrega would not have been there. That is how it came. Now with this modification, what is happening? Manrega provides a right-based poor protection. In any part of India, those who are registered, they can go and demand, I am willing to do unskilled labor. You know what work they do, it's unskilled work. They should be given work and the wages for that work. If the government is unable to give them some work, equivalent to the wage should be given. That is this Monday cabinet. Now what is in the amended form? What is its impact? Section 5(1), which says central government notify how and where this project need to be implemented. Now to understand simply, I would say, with the modification that is being made by the BJP government at the center now, in Telangana, they will not notify any place in Khammam if some government does not want it. They will notify that some blocks in some district of Telangana only this project will be implemented. That is all. In my state Kerala, they would say this will be implemented only in Palakkad district and that too in Attapadi block. Finish. This is the dangerous move by the central government of, like these forces, these communal fascistic forces, its predecessors assassinated Mahatma Gandhi. This project also is being assassinated. So long and short, it is not just the question of the name being changed in a historical manner. They are unhappy with the name of Mahatma Gandhi. That's important. Because Mahatma Gandhi stood and lived for communal amity. That's why he was assassinated. Now they are assassinating a pro-poor project which was implemented by the UPA government with the support of the left. They not only re-christen itself, change its name, which itself is unpardonable. Because they want to remove the name of the father of the nation. They are, for all practical purposes, some people said it is a mercy killing. It is not a mercy killing by BJP government. It is a merciless killing of a very important project aimed at helping, extending some help for the sustenance of the poorest of the poor in Indian society. So one of the important tasks that we should take up by the left forces basically, because within the UPA we negotiated and we have engaged in a friendly fight with Congress to get it implemented. So we the left have decided to take it up very seriously, and wherever possible within the structure of India bloc platform also, we should take this up in a very, very serious manner. As the minister in charge of this district, I think, he has come and there are many other speakers. I do not want to take much of the time. The foreign policy deviation that is happening with the present dispensation. I have already mentioned about Palestine. If you look at the world map before 1948, you will only see Palestine in that area, you will not find Israel there. Now Israel is a creation of 1948. You have also played a role in that. We recognize that. But Palestine should accept. Palestinian people should have a land to live. A land when they die to bury. In the scheme of US imperialism and Netanyahu, they don't require. Israel is occupying the entire Palestinian land. Where does Narendra Modi government stand on this issue? This is the question. So on issues related to Indian working class, Indian peasant, Indian agricultural labor, Indian women, youth and students, the left need to unite and left would like to cooperate with other forces also, which are willing to fight against this fascistic RSS and RSS controlled government at the center and in many states. But we have to hold high the time-tested foreign policy of being with the third world, being with those countries which had to fight imperialism for liberation, countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America. That policy has been totally abandoned by Narendra Modi government now. This is also an issue on which the left and democratic forces should join hands in the coming days. I do not want to speak about the income disparity that exists in our country today. There are various other points, but since I feel I should not exceed the time limit, while concluding, I want to mention that there are issues which the left collectively need to reflect. When we fight against all forms of communalism, in many places, this is being wrongly projected as the left taking an position against religion, especially with the majoritarian communal outfits capturing an overarching influence over the minds of the people. This narrative happens in many a place. So we have to distinctly differentiate our fight against communalism and our approach to religion. Religion is a social reality. Some of us would be respecting all the religions and we need not be professing any particular religion. That is my position. But we are not anti-religion. When we criticize communalism, it is not opposition to that particular religion, the religion which has been misused to interpret a communal narrative. This is so about the belief in God also. I understand in many places to isolate leftist forces, other political parties, mostly communal based political parties say, oh, these leftists, communists, they are against God. They don't believe in God. We know constitution of communist parties, there is no provision that communist party members should be against religion or against God. Those who believe in religion, those who believe in God, they can also join communist party, left party. When we think about the future of the left, to fight far rightist forces, we have to expand the independent strength of each left and democratic political force. And this kind of misrepresentation about the left among the masses of people, this is also adversely affecting the expansion and growth of the left forces. So there are umpteen issues we need to seriously discuss when we try to address the question why the left is not expanding the way it should. I don't want to cover all the other ground. The left, despite certain differences when we take up ideological issues, the left remain united. The independent growth of various left political parties are very important. Without a left, there is no future for the idea of India. With these few words, I conclude. Thank you very much for your attention.
అందరికీ మనం చేసేది ఏంటంటే టైం తక్కువ ఉండబట్టి ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేయట్లేదు. డోంట్ ఫీల్ అన్వైజ్ విచ్ ఇస్ డోంట్ ఫైల్ టు ట్రాన్స్లేట్. సో ఇట్ టేక్స్ సో మచ్ టైం. దీపాకి పట్టాల్సి మాట్లాడతాను. మధ్యలో ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు వచ్చారు, వారు కూడా మాట్లాడతాను. తర్వాత after lunch we will have our national council meeting also. So Bhatti గారి సంబంధించి comments, I imagined comment Sri Bhatti garu, he has got versatile knowledge of all the subjects and he is a vivid reader of, so extent reader of all the subjects. So that's why I asked him to come prepared. So he actually came with all the preparation because of time factor. So just he will give some important points along with his message. So right now I request Comrade Deepankarji to deliver his message. Bhatti గారిని ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని ఈలోపు పరిచయం కావాల్సిందిగా కోరుతున్నాను. ఆయన బాగా చదువుకున్న వ్యక్తి, చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి కింది స్థాయి నుంచి పైకి వచ్చారు. ఆయన బాగా వక్త, మంచి సబ్జెక్టుని అవగాహన ఉంది. ఇలా పైకి మంచిగా ప్రిపరేషన్ వచ్చారు. నేను అడిగాను వారిని ఆ విధంగా ప్రిపరేషన్ రమ్మని, చాలా చక్కగా చెప్పగలుగుతాను. సో అయినా కూడా I think he will take at least 10 to 15 minutes to deliver his message. So right now I request from Comrade Deepankarji to deliver his speech.
Comrade President, Comrade Anuragi, Comrade D. Raja, Comrade Devrajan, मंच पर उपस्थित अन्य तमाम साथियों और यहाँ उपस्थित CPI के नेशनल काउंसिल के सभी साथियों, अन्य तमाम साथियों, सबसे पहले दिस इज अ हिस्टोरिक ओकेजन, सेंटेनरी ऑफ द CPI. So please accept my warm revolutionary greetings. Warm revolutionary greetings to all comrades of CPI across the country. और मैं आपको ये बताऊं कि जैसे आप लोगों ने 2025 में और अभी तक शताब्दी वर्ष आपने मनाया, हमारी पार्टी ने भी मनाया। हमने भी पूरे देश में साल भर संगठित कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन में 100 साल, इसी हिसाब से हमने पूरे देश में इसको मनाने का काम किया। और कल दरअसल इस समय मैं मऊ में था, कॉमरेड अति रंजान का जिला मऊ, उस मऊ में इसी तरह की मीटिंग हो रही थी। हमारी पार्टी के पूर्वांचल का, उत्तर प्रदेश का पार्टी स्कूल भी था और वहीं से मैं यहां आ रहा हूं। तो एक तो शताब्दी के मौके पर पूरे देश के कम्युनिस्टों को और संगठन के तौर पर सीपीआई को बहुत बहुत बधाई और क्रांतिकारी सलाम। दूसरा, ये खम्मम है, ये तेलंगाना है और भारत के कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन में जो 100 साल की जब भी हम चर्चा करेंगे तो शायद सबसे पहले जो नाम आएगा वो तेलंगाना का आएगा, सबसे पहले तेलंगाना का नाम आएगा। और हमारी भी पार्टी जब बनी नक्सलवादी के किसान विद्रोह के बाद 1969 में, तब से लगातार जब भी हम देश में कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन की चर्चा करते हैं, 3 नाम हम एक साथ लेते हैं, तेहागा, तेलंगाना, नक्सलवादी। ये 3 भारत के कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन में, किसान आंदोलन में, क्रांतिकारी आंदोलन में पूरे शानदार ग्लोरियस चैप्टर्स इन इंडियन कम्युनिस्ट मूवमेंट। और इसीलिए इस मौके पर तेलंगाना के तमाम शहीदों को, तेलंगाना के तमाम नेताओं को खास तौर पर मेरा लाल सलाम। उस जनरेशन को बासठ पुन्नैया हो या सुंदरैया हो, उनसे मिलने का मौका नहीं मिला, लेकिन कॉमरेड सी राजेश्वर राव से मिलने का, बात करने का मौका मिला, कॉमरेड सुधाकर रेड्डी से बात करने का मौका मिला, तेलंगाना के बहुत सारे नेताओं से मिलने का मौका मिला। तो तेलंगाना आंदोलन से जुड़े तमाम शहीदों को, साथियों को, उन तमाम लोगों को मेरा लाल सलाम। जाहिर बात है कि हम लोग आज जो बात कर रहे हैं अभी, आज का भारत, 100 साल का इतिहास हम पार करके आए हैं। आज का भारत और हमारे सामने क्या चुनौतियां हैं। आज के भारत की अगर बात करें, हम आपको कुछ तस्वीरें दिखाना चाहते हैं टुकड़ों में। इफ यू आर ए माइग्रेंट वर्कर, if you are a Bengali speaking migrant worker and if you are a Bengali speaking Muslim migrant worker, तो आज पूरे देश में इस समय यू आर अ ग्रेट रिस्क। इस देश के किसी भी कोने में कहीं भी आपको पकड़ करके आपकी हत्या कर दी जा सकती है। दिस इज इंडिया टुडे। इंडिया टुडे का मतलब है कि एनी माइग्रेंट वर्कर कैन बी किल्ड। और हमने केरला में देखा, यू डोंट हैव टू बी अ बंगाली स्पीकिंग माइग्रेंट वर्कर, यू डोंट हैव टू बी अ मुस्लिम माइग्रेंट वर्कर, यू कैन बी राम नारायण बघेल फ्रॉम छत्तीसगढ़। छत्तीसगढ़ के राम नारायण बघेल को बांग्लादेशी कह करके, कि बांग्लादेशी तो नहीं हो, उसकी हत्या कर दी जाती है केरल में। दिस इज इंडिया टुडे। आज अगर हमें सोचना है इस समय देश में, हमारे त्रिपुरा का एक नौजवान एंजल चकमा, त्रिपुरा का एक ट्राइबल नौजवान जो एमबीए पढ़ रहा था, उसका पिता बीएसएफ में है और वो देहरादून में, उत्तराखंड में पढ़ता है, उसकी हत्या कर दी जाती है कह करके कि तुम्हारा चेहरा देखने से चीनी जैसा लगता है। If you are somebody from northeast, you can be killed by saying that you are actually a Chinese. खबर आई है अभी उत्तर प्रदेश के बरेली से, 12 लोगों को अपने घर में नमाज अदा कर रहे थे, घर में नमाज अदा कर रहे थे और उनको गिरफ्तार किया गया, डिटेन किया गया। क्यों? कि आपने अपने घर को रिलीजियस वर्शिप के लिए इस्तेमाल किया है। ये तो हैरान करने वाली बात है। इस हिंदुस्तान में कितने हिंदू घर हैं, घर में पूजा होती है, किसी ना किसी देवी देवता का वहां फोटो है, मूर्ति है। क्या कल ये भी शुरू हो जाएगा कि घर में आप पूजा नहीं कर सकते? संविधान में रिलीजियस फ्रीडम की बात है। इस बार के क्रिसमस में हमने देखा पूरे देश के हर कोने में अब क्रिसमस नहीं मना सकते। सेंटा क्लॉज का चेहरा अगर आपको दिख गया तो उससे आपको खतरा महसूस होता है, उसमें नफरत है। जो सेंटा क्लॉज बच्चों के लिए पूरे दुनिया भर में शांति के लिए, खुशी के लिए, प्यार के लिए लोग जानते हैं, और आप उसको नफरत उस पर रखते हैं। तो ये जो पूरे देश की स्थिति बनी हुई है, समझना कठिन नहीं है कि हम कहां जा रहे हैं। पार्लियामेंट है, पार्लियामेंट में कैसे कैसे कानून पारित हो रहे हैं, कितनी चर्चा होती है और कैसे पारित कर दिया जाता है, आपने देखा। अभी न्यूक्लियर पावर का प्राइवेटाइजेशन किया गया। क्यों? क्योंकि अदानी को न्यूक्लियर पावर में भी घुसना है। कोल हो गया, सोलर पावर हो गया, विंड पावर हो गया। शायद अब अदानी जी को न्यूक्लियर पावर में भी घुसना है तो न्यूक्लियर पावर का भी प्राइवेटाइजेशन कर दो। कुछ भी कोई कानून बना दो। अब एक हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया बनने वाली है, उसका नाम दिया गया विकसित भारत शिक्षा अधिष्ठान। पूरे देश के हायर एजुकेशन के लिए वहां भी कोई एक कमीशन बनेगा, और उस एक कमीशन के लिए कोई एक गणेश कुमार जैसे कोई मिल जाएंगे, और एक कमीशन के जरिए पूरे हिंदुस्तान के हायर एजुकेशन को कब्जा करो। ये जो स्थिति है देश में, हमारे लिए बहुत साफ है कि देश में व्हाट वी आर फेसिंग इज कॉर्पोरेट टेक ओवर ऑफ द इकोनॉमी एंड फैशिस्ट टेक ओवर ऑफ द पॉलिटी एंड सोसाइटी। कॉर्पोरेट टेक ओवर की जब हम बात करते हैं तो शायद किसी को आपत्ति नहीं होती, सबको दिख रहा है, अदानी अंबानी सबको दिख रहा है। लेकिन जब हम कहते हैं कि भारत का फैशिस्ट टेक ओवर भी हो रहा है, हमारी पॉलिटी का, हमारी सोसाइटी का, तो बहुत सारे साथियों को शायद अभी भी लगता है कि शायद कुछ ज्यादा आप बोल रहे हैं। अक्सर लोग पूछ देते हैं कि भाई आप तो भाषण दे रहे हैं फांसीवाद को लेकर के, क्या फांसीवाद के जमाने में फांसीवाद पर भाषण दिया जा सकता है? तो आप तो इतना बोल रहे हैं, कहां से फांसीवाद आया? हम उन तमाम साथियों से कहते हैं, मान लीजिए हम अगर बोल रहे हैं, आपको दिखाई दे रहा है कि दीपंकर अभी भी बोल रहे हैं, कॉमरेड डी राजा अभी भी बोल रहे हैं, कॉमरेड एम बेबी अभी भी बोल रहे हैं, आपको इतना दिखाई दे रहा है। आपको यह भी दिखाई देना चाहिए कि हिडमा को जान से मार दिया गया, उसकी मां से आकर के वीडियो करवाया गया कि आप बेटा से अपील करो कि बेटा घर लौट करके आए। वो मां वीडियो बना करके अपील करती है कि घर लौट आओ, लेकिन बेटा लौट करके नहीं आता है, उसकी लाश आती है। तो आपको ये भी देखना चाहिए, आपको ये भी देखना चाहिए कि अगर कॉमरेड एम बेबी बोल पा रहे हैं तो वहां उमर खालिद जेल में सड़ रहे हैं। आपको देखना चाहिए कि डी राजा अगर बोल पा रहे हैं तो सोनम वांगचुक को बोलने नहीं दिया जा रहा है, उनको जेल में सड़ाया जा रहा है। इसीलिए इंतजार मत कीजिए, उस दिन का इंतजार मत कीजिए जब किसी के पास बोलने का कोई अधिकार नहीं होगा। अभी वक्त रहते इसको रोकने की कोशिश कीजिए। कुछ लोग कह रहे हैं कि अभी तो पार्लियामेंट है, अभी तो चुनाव है पार्लियामेंट है, लेकिन उस पार्लियामेंट में राहुल गांधी तक की पार्लियामेंट मेंबरशिप खत्म कर दी जाती है एक डिफेमेशन सूट ला करके। आपको पार्लियामेंट दिखाई दे रहा है और कैसे आसानी से इस देश के किसी नेता की संसद की सदस्यता खत्म कर दी जा रही है, ये नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है। आपको चुनाव दिखाई दे रहा है, चुनाव आयोग नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है, SIR नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है। अभी 25 जनवरी को चुनाव आयोग ने कहा है कि नेशनल वोटर्स डे, आजकल 26 जनवरी हम रिपब्लिक डे मनाते हैं, and on 25th January, the foundation day of the Election Commission of India, we celebrate as National Voters Day. और आज स्थिति क्या है? अभी एसआईआर चल रहा है, एसआईआर चल रहा है, बिहार में एसआईआर हो गया, उस एसआईआर का क्या परिणाम निकला आपने देखा, और 9 राज्य में और 3 यूनियन टेरिटरी में एसआईआर चल रहा है। अभी 12 राज्य में, अभी हिंदुस्तान का बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा बचा है, 12 राज्य में 7 करोड़ लोगों का नाम चला गया, 7 करोड़। पश्चिम बंगाल में करीब 60 लाख के नाम गए, 1.5 करोड़ लोगों को हियरिंग के लिए बुलाया गया कि आपका नाम ठीक नहीं है, लॉजिकल डिस्क्रिपेंसी है, आपके परिवार में 6 बच्चे कैसे हैं, 6 बच्चों का एक पिता कैसे हो सकता है, तरह तरह की बातें। अमर्त्य सेन को एसआईआर के हियरिंग में बुलाया जा रहा है, सबको बुलाया जा रहा है। ये डिसएनफ्रेंचाइजमेंट, मैस डिसएनफ्रेंचाइजमेंट। हिटलर भी चुनाव से ही आए थे, चुनाव जीत कर ही हिटलर बने, और चुनाव के बाद इस तरीके से पूरे तंत्र को उन्होंने बदल दिया कि 1 नेशन 1 पार्टी 1 लीडर 1 स्टेट बन गया वहां। तो इसीलिए हमें लगता है कि हम लोगों को बहुत इसके लिए इंतजार नहीं करना चाहिए। अगर दिमाग में वो जर्मन पैमाना हमने बैठा लिया है कि भाई जर्मनी में तो गैस चेंबर बने थे, 60 लाख यहूदियों की हत्या कर दी गई थी, अभी हमारे यहां तो गैस चेंबर अभी तक नहीं दिख रहा है, अभी तो 60 लाख का आंकड़ा तो नहीं आया है, इसके लिए इंतजार मत कीजिए। कम्युनिस्ट कभी इंतजार नहीं करते, कम्युनिस्टों का काम है वर्तमान में बल्कि उनका भविष्य का प्रतिनिधित्व करते हैं, इतिहास से सबक लेते हैं। इसीलिए मैं तमाम आज देश के वामपंथी साथियों से खास तौर पर अपील करूंगा कि इस समय ये जो पूरे फैसिस्ट टेक ओवर, उस टेक ओवर को वो टेक ओवर की प्रक्रिया है। अगर हम अभी इसको रोक नहीं पाएंगे तो टेक ओवर जब पूरा हो जाएगा तब आपके पास बचेगा नहीं कुछ। टेक ओवर की प्रक्रिया से हम जूझ रहे हैं, गुजर रहे हैं, तो उस टेक ओवर की प्रक्रिया के खिलाफ अभी समय है। समय रहते रहते, थोड़ा बहुत लोकतंत्र बचा रहते रहते, थोड़ा बहुत संविधान, थोड़ी बहुत बोलने की आजादी, ये रहते रहते उसका सही इस्तेमाल करके हम लोगों को इसको रोकना चाहिए। अलग अलग पार्टियां हम लोग हैं, बहुत सारे साथी कहते हैं कि भाई एक पार्टी क्यों नहीं बन जाते। बिल्कुल बन सकते हैं। अगर 1925 में एक पार्टी थी तो 2030 में एक पार्टी बन जा सकती है, कोई बात नहीं है, बिल्कुल बन सकती है। लेकिन हम कहेंगे कि इस पर एक कब होंगे, एक होकर के क्या करना है उस पर सोचिए। व्हाट इज टू बी डन। एक होना है, एक होना है, एक हो जाइए, एक हो जाइए, एक नहीं होने से नहीं होगा, इससे कोई बात नहीं बनेगी। एक होकर के करना क्या है। अगर एक नहीं भी है, 4 अलग पार्टी भी है, तब भी एक साथ मिलकर बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं। तो नजर हमारी इस पर हो कि करना क्या है। मैं बस कुछ आंदोलनों की चर्चा करके बात खत्म करूंगा। अभी इस देश में अब पुराने इतिहास याद करिए तो 1925 में सीपीआई, लेकिन 1920 में एआईटीयूसी का गठन हुआ। सीपीआई बनने से 5 साल पहले ट्रेड यूनियन केंद्र का गठन हुआ। पूरे आजादी के आंदोलन में ट्रेड यूनियन आंदोलनों का जबरदस्त उस समय दौर था। 1926 में इस देश में ट्रेड यूनियन एक्ट बना था, कोई अंग्रेजों ने तोहफा नहीं दिया था। उस देश में उस समय का जो मजदूर आंदोलन था, उस आंदोलन की ताकत थी कि उसने अंग्रेजों को भी मजबूर कर दिया था कि ट्रेड यूनियन के अधिकार के लिए कानून बनाओ। तो क्या आज ये जो 4 लेबर कोड थोपे जा रहे हैं, ये जो मनरेगा को खत्म करके ये जो कानून आया है, हम अभी कॉमरेड बेबी से कह रहे थे कि हम उसको जी राम जी नहीं कहते, जी राम जी, कुछ लोग महात्मा गांधी बनाम राम, इस चक्कर में हम नहीं जाएंगे। जी राम का मतलब है ग्राम। ये विकसित भारत ग्राम जी कानून आया है कि विकसित भारत जब बनेगा और विकसित भारत में ग्राम कहां रहेगा, ग्राम के बेरोजगार कहां रहेंगे, ग्राम में रोजगार का क्या होगा। तो ये गांव का सवाल है, गांव के रोजगार का सवाल है। तो क्या ये गांव के रोजगार का सवाल, ये जो आज क्या उभरता हुआ हिंदुस्तान का मजदूर, अब इस साल के अंत में हमने देखा कि गीग वर्करों ने हड़ताल की, और गीग वर्करों की हड़ताल से कम इतनी बात बनी, वो जो 10 मिनट के अंदर आपको डिलीवर करना है ब्लिंकिट के मजदूरों को, उसमें थोड़ा पीछे हटना पड़ा है उनको। तो क्या हिंदुस्तान में आज का जो फैलता हुआ बदलता हुआ नया मजदूर वर्ग है, उस मजदूर वर्ग का कोई उभार हम पैदा कर सकते हैं गांव से लेकर शहर तक? यह सोचना चाहिए, इस दिशा में कोशिश करनी चाहिए। आज इस देश में समय समय पर आप देखेंगे कि महिलाओं का जबरदस्त आंदोलन खड़ा हो रहा है। बलात्कारियों को खुली छूट है, बलात्कारियों को माला पहनाया जा रहा है, सेंटर को बेल दिया जा रहा है, राम रहीमों हर रोज पैरोल मिल रहा है। लेकिन हम देख रहे हैं कि इस देश में कभी निर्भया, कभी अभाया, कभी उत्तराखंड में अंकिता भंडारी, उसके बलात्कार और हत्या के खिलाफ जबरदस्त आंदोलन खड़ा हो रहा है। ये जो महिलाओं का आंदोलन है, उसमें कुछ लोग कह देते हैं कि भाई ये एक घटना है, इसमें फांसी दे दो, इसमें सजा दे दो, बस वो आंदोलन एक घटना बन करके रह जाता है। क्या हम इस देश में इस समय एक बहुत बड़ा महिला आंदोलन, क्योंकि सबसे ज्यादा अगर मनुस्मृति संविधान बनेगा, इफ देयर इज अ रियल फैसिस्ट टेक ओवर, जिसके बारे में बाबा साहब अंबेडकर ने कहा था, इफ इंडिया इज एवर टू बिकम हिंदू राज, इफ हिंदू राज इज एवर टू बिकम ए रियलिटी इन इंडिया, दैट विल बी द वर्स्ट कैलामिटी टू बिफॉल। तो उस कैलामिटी से, उस तबाही से सबसे ज्यादा जो टकराना पड़ेगा इस देश में, इस देश की आधी आबादी महिलाओं को टकराना पड़ेगा, और महिलाएं टकरा रही है आंदोलन में। तो क्या महिला आंदोलन को हम एक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट की तरह, एक राजनीतिक ऊंचाई, एक बहुत बड़े राजनीतिक ताकत इस फांसीवाद से निपटने के लिए क्या महिला आंदोलन का वहां ले जा सकते हैं? हमारे सामने सवाल है। क्या इस देश में इस समय दलित आंदोलन और कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन हम लोग और ज्यादा नजदीक आ सकते हैं? आजादी के आंदोलन के दौर में 1930s, 1940s, दो ऐसे दशक थे जब बाबा साहब अंबेडकर और कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी मिलकर के काम कर रहे थे। इंडिपेंडेंट लेबर पार्टी बनी थी बाबा साहब अंबेडकर की, जिस दौर में बाबा साहब ने कहा था कि ये कास्ट जो है ये डिवीजन ऑफ लेबर नहीं है, दिस इज डिवीजन ऑफ लेबरर्स। अगर वो डिवीजन ऑफ लेबरर है तो हाउ टू यूनाइट द लेबरर्स? जाहिर सी बात है कि यूनाइट करने के लिए एक तरफ आपको पूंजी से लड़ना पड़ेगा और एक तरफ आपको इस कास्ट सिस्टम से लड़ना पड़ेगा, और उसी लड़ाई से बात बनने लगी थी। अफसोस है, हमारे देश की ये ट्रेजेडी रहा है कि वो जो एकता बन सकती थी, बनने लगी थी, वो एकता बीच रास्ते में बंद हो गई, रुक गई, अलग अलग रास्ते पर लोग चल पड़े, और जिससे इस देश के दलित आंदोलन को भी नुकसान हुआ, कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन को भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ। क्या आने वाले दिन में, इस समय में हम लोग दलित आंदोलन और कम्युनिस्ट आंदोलन को और नजदीक ला सकते हैं? आज इस देश में एनवायरनमेंट बड़ा सवाल बन रहा है और उसमें दम है। ये हिमालय के लोग जोशीमठ बचाव लड़ रहे थे, कोई सुन नहीं रहा था। ये निकोबार खत्म हो रहा है, निकोबार की आवाज हिंदुस्तान में गूंज नहीं रही है, लेकिन अरावली में जब हुआ, वो पूरा राजस्थान, वो पूरा हरियाणा, वो पूरा एनसीआर, वो पूरे मिडिल क्लास के लोग भी आगे आए, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को भी पीछे हटना पड़ा। इसका मतलब क्या? हिंदुस्तान में जल जंगल जमीन का सवाल, पर्यावरण का सवाल, पीने के पानी, दूषित पानी से इंदौर में लोग मर रहे हैं, जहरीला हवा, उस हवा से दिल्ली में लोग मर रहे हैं। क्या ये हवा का सवाल, ये पानी का सवाल, ये जल जंगल जमीन का सवाल, पर्यावरण का सवाल, इसको हम बहुत बड़ा एक एजेंडा बना दे सकते हैं? तो हमें तो लगता है कि हम लोगों को आंदोलनों पर ज्यादा चर्चा करें, आंदोलनों में कैसे नया जोश, नई ऊंचाई, नए आयाम हम जोड़ सकते हैं। निश्चित तौर पर इसी से बात बनेगी। मैं खत्म करूंगा, जिस समय 1925 में सीपीआई बन रही थी, उस समय हमारे सामने दो सवाल थे। एक सवाल था कि देश में आजादी कैसे आएगी, आजादी लाने के लिए लोग लड़ रहे थे। दूसरा सवाल था आजादी कैसी होगी। उस आजाद हिंदुस्तान में क्या जमींदारी और आजादी साथ साथ चलेगी? कम्युनिस्टों ने नारा दिया कि जमींदारी का उन्मूलन हो। क्या इस देश में ये जो छोटे छोटे राज्य थे और राज्य में राजाओं का चलता था, कम्युनिस्टों ने नारा दिया और वो त्रवणपुर से लेकर हैदराबाद से लेकर के पूरे देश में जो लोग कहता है कि सरदार पटेल ने आकर के सबको एक कर दिया, वो इसीलिए एक कर पाए कि अंदर से हर ऐसे जो राजा का था वहां लोग लड़ रहे थे सामंतशाही के खिलाफ, राजशाही के खिलाफ। तो ये जो लड़ाइयां हैं, तो वो दोनों लड़ाई थी। आज की परिस्थिति कुछ बिल्कुल उसी तरह की है। आज हमें फांसीवाद से आजादी चाहिए, फिर एक बार साम्राज्यवाद से आजादी चाहिए। वो ट्रंप के आगे भारत सरकार घुटने टेक रही है, भारत के शासक वर्ग घुटना टेक रहा है। उस ट्रंप से, उस अमेरिकी साम्राज्यवाद से आजादी पूरी दुनिया को चाहिए, हमें भी चाहिए। कॉरपोरेट से आजादी हमें चाहिए, हमें फांसीवाद से आजादी चाहिए। तो आज भी एक आजादी की लड़ाई है और उस आजादी की लड़ाई में जाहिर सी बात है मजबूत लोकतंत्र चाहिए और समाजवाद की दिशा में इस लोकतंत्र को ले जाना है। तो हमें लगता है कि आज ये जो चुनौतियां हैं हमारे सामने, ढेरों चुनौतियां हैं, लेकिन जो बिग पिक्चर इज वी आर फेसिंग अ स्टेज ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट टेक ओवर एंड फैसिस्ट टेक ओवर। और इसमें मुझे लगता है कि बहुत सारी बहसें नहीं हैं। जो कह रहा है कि भाई क्या भारत में स्टेट फैसिस्ट बन गया, आई थिंक ऑनेस्टली दिस इज द रेड हेरिंग, दिस इज द रेड हेरिंग। कोई किसी को ये, लेकिन अगर हम इसी तरह से स्टेट का चलता रहेगा, वो दिन दूर नहीं होगा जिस दिन उसका हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा। और इसीलिए वी हैव टू इंटरवीन नाउ, हियर एंड नाउ। हमें इसमें हस्तक्षेप करना है, इसको रोकना है। चैलेंज हमारे सामने है, कैन यू स्टॉप द फैसिस्ट, कैन यू स्टॉप द फैसिस्ट, कैन यू स्टॉप दिस फैसिस्ट टेक ओवर, कैन यू रिवर्स द प्रोसेस एंड कैन यू अनलिश once again powerful waves of working people struggles, powerful waves of communist movement, powerful waves of democratic upsurge in this country. आज 100 साल के मौके पर पिछले 100 साल के अपने तमाम शहीदों को, उन तमाम पीढ़ियों को जिन्होंने हमें ये शानदार विरासत दी है, आज जिस विरासत को लेकर हमें आगे बढ़ना है, सबको सलाम करते हुए मैं अपनी बात खत्म कर रहा हूं। इनकलाब जिंदाबाद।
थैंक यू खामम ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు భట్టి విక్రమార్క గారు, ఆయనకి చాలా చక్కగా సబ్జెక్ట్ పట్ల మంచి అవగాహన. ఎందుకంటే నేను ఎప్పుడు వింటూ ఉంటాను, అసెంబ్లీలో కూడా మన కమ్యూనిస్టు భావాలకు అనుగుణంగానే పేదవాడి భావాలతో కూడిన ఉపన్యాసాలు చాలా చక్కగా మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటారు. అని ఆయన మొత్తం ఐఏఎస్ ప్రిపేర్ అయ్యాడు. ఆ రోజుల్లో ఐఏఎస్ ప్రిపరేషన్లో అనేక సబ్జెక్టులు నాలెడ్జ్ ఎక్వైర్ చేశారు. సో వారిని బట్టి వారిని మన ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి, మన జిల్లా వాసి వారిని మాట్లాడవలసింది కోరుతున్నాను. అంతేనా? ఓకే.
invite our Devaraju Garu to speak. Later, Bhatti Garu, he came prepared to be here. So after Devaraju Garu, Bhatti Garu will take his turn.
Respected comrades in the dais, dear comrades and friends, I think now we are discussing the challenges before the left of Indian left parties. First of all, on behalf of our party, the All India Forward Bloc, the party founded by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, I extend our revolutionary greetings to the concluding ceremony of the Centenary of Communist Party of India, and I am extending my sincere gratitude to the leaders of Communist Party of India for inviting us to express our views on this very important subject. As all the senior leaders have expressed their views on this particular subject, almost all the issues they have covered up. The imperialist machinations, I was just writing, the imperialist machinations, the class division and the newly emerging class character, and the influence of caste in our society, the how to save our constitution, and what are the challenges before our constitution, before our federalism, and the threat on our democracy. All these issues have been discussed. So if I go on extempo, it will also consume more time. So as it is a seminar, I thought that my views also should go and record. So I just prepare one speech or my opinion in written format. So kindly allow me to read that text so that the time can be restricted. Within that stipulated time I can finish. Today, as we gather to commemorate the historic centenary of Communist Party of India, we are not merely celebrating the passage of 100 years. We are honoring a legacy of sacrifice, struggle, and unwavering commitment to the cause of the working people of this country, from the factories and fields to the reeds and the student hostels. The communist movement in India has been the moral compass of our nation, the voice of the voiceless, the shield of the oppressed, and the conscience of Indian democracy. The centenary comes at a decisive moment in our history. I know that it is 1:45, everybody is hungry, and most of the people are nowadays diabetics, so they need food in time, that I know. So he is requesting everybody to sit for a moment, that the deputy speaker will also address, then we will disperse for lunch. Am I right? Yes. The centenary comes at a decisive moment. Yes, yes, in our history. We live in a political landscape increasingly dominated by corporate interest, neoliberal dogma, and an unprecedented concentration of economic and political power in the hands of a few. Wealth is being centralized, labor is being socialized, agriculture is being corporatized, and the very idea of social justice is being mocked. In such a time, it is the left, and only the left, that continues to stand firmly with workers, peasants, agricultural laborers, youth, women, minorities, and the marginalized. And yet, comrades, we must speak with honesty and courage. The Indian left today faces a profound crisis. We cannot close our eyes blindly. There is a crisis. Once a decisive force in national politics, the left has suffered severe electoral decline and political marginalization. We have lost our traditional strongholds, West Bengal, Tripura, and other regions where the left once represented the aspirations of the people. Our presence in the parliament has fallen to historical low, weakening our collective ability to influence national policy and challenge corporate-driven governance. Despite our growing strength on the streets, in factories, on farms, and in mass movements across the country, we have struggled to translate this popular support into sustainable electoral success. When we call a meeting, people used to come in the street, but we failed to translate this popular support into electoral success. This gap between mass influence and electoral outcomes is one of the most serious challenges facing the left parties in India today. If we fail to confront this reality with clarity and resolve, we risk allowing reactionary forces to tighten their grip further on our democracy. Let us be clear, our ideology is not outdated. Socialism is not irrelevant. What requires renewal is our principles. There is no need of renewing the principles, but our methods. We have to renew the methods. For decades, our old forms of organization and communication served us well. They helped us to build strong mass movements, trade unions, Kisan Sabhas, and student organizations. But India has changed. Society has changed. The political battlefield has expanded into digital spaces, social media platforms, and new forms of cultural influence. If the left does not adapt to this evolving terrain, others will occupy it, and they have already had. The right wing has mastered modern political communication, not to spread the truth, but to manufacture consent through propaganda, misinformation, and communal poison. They have weaponized technology to divide the people, distort history, and glorify corporate plunder as nationalism. We cannot fight a 21st century challenge with the 20th century tools alone. We cannot fight a 21st century challenge with the 20th century old tools alone. Therefore, the left must modernize its outreach without compromising its soul. We must speak the language of today's youth while remaining rooted in the politics of class struggle. We must use social media not as a substitute for mass work, but as its extension to amplify workers' struggles, expose corporate loot, counter communal narratives, and present a clear socialist alternative. We must invest in political education that equips our cadres to engage confidently both on the ground and in the digital sphere. The challenge before us is not merely electoral, it is civilizational also. We are not dealing with just another right-wing government, not with the ordinary right-wing government. We are confronting a regime that represents the fusion of the most dangerous tendencies of our time: communal hatred and corporate greed. This is a project that seeks to divide the working people on the basis of religion and caste by uniting the richest corporation and crony capitalists in an unprecedented plunder of national wealth. Communalism is being used as a weapon to distract the masses from unemployment, price rise, agrarian distress, and the destruction of labor rights. Corporate power dictates policy, writes laws, and captures institutions. Democracy is hollowed out, federalism is undermined, dissent is criminalized, and constitutional values are treated as obstacles. In a political activities. The confrontation of explosive force broader possible resistance against communalism and authoritarianism without diluting our independent left identity. We must reconnect electoral politics with non-politics. Elections cannot be seen as an isolated event. They must be political culmination of continuous movements on issues of livelihood, land, labor, education, health and social justice. Our campaigns must emerge from struggles, not from convenience. Our campaigns must reflect the very realities of the people who are charged with victory. Comrades, I am not a doctor. All the speakers and your party congresses, our party congresses, we used to diagnose the problem. We used to diagnose the disease. Diagnoses are okay. We should think about whether the treatment is proper or not. We always diagnose, these are the problems, these are the issues. But whether the treatment which we are giving to the patient, whether it is always proper or adequate or not, these are the occasions we have to think about it. Whenever there is a struggle, there is a Bharat Bandh or All India General Strike or any sort of joint program, we will all together. We will work together, we will try our level best to make it success, everything we will do. But when the election comes, whether it is assembly election or local body election or parliament election comes, everybody will go their own way. Everybody will go their own way and talk to the regional parties and take their own share. But there is no unity. If the left parties come together as a bloc, they can negotiate with the so-called democratic parties. We can negotiate with the secular political forces. Then that will give the message that the left of our country, the working class, they are united as a bloc. We can also bargain, we can also pressurize them. Because I am of the opinion that the centenary of Communist Party of India is not a moment for nostalgia alone. It is a call to action. The sacrifices of generations of communists, from colonial peasants to workers' strikes, from peasants' uprising to democratic struggles, demand that we rise to the challenges of our time with the same courage and clarity. History has placed before us a stark choice, the only choice, either the further consolidation of communal corporate rule or the resurgence of a powerful left-led democratic alternative rooted in class unity and social justice. Let us choose struggle. Let us choose renewal. Let us choose unity. And let us reaffirm with the confidence and determination that the future of India belongs not to hatred and greed, but to solidarity, equality and socialism. Long live left unity. Long live the working people of India. Great salute to the centenary of Communist Party of India. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
దేవరాజన్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. ఇప్పుడు మన ఉప ముఖ్యమంత్రి మన జిల్లా వాసి భట్టి విక్రమార్క గారిని మాట్లాడాల్సిందని కోరుతా ఉన్నాం.
పెద్దలు, భారత కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీ జాతీయ కార్యదర్శి శ్రీ డి రాజా గారికి, అలాగే బేబీ గారికి,
General Secretary CPI M, Deepankar Bhattacharya Garki, General Secretary CPI ML Liberation General Secretary Garki, Sri G. Devarajan Garki, AIFB General Secretary Garki, అట్లాగే వేదిక మీద ఉన్నటువంటి కోననేని సాంబశివరావు గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ అమర్జిత్ కౌర్ గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ రామకృష్ణ గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ డాక్టర్ గిరీష్ శర్మ గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ ప్రకాష్ బాబు గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ పిఎస్ సంతోష్ కుమార్ గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ పల్లబ్ సేన్ గుప్తా గారికి, కామ్రేడ్ సంజయ్ కుమార్ గారికి, అట్లాగే కామ్రేడ్ పల్లా వెంకటరెడ్డి గారికి, అనేక ప్రాంతాల నుంచి మరి ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేసినటువంటి వివిధ రాష్ట్రాల ప్రతినిధులకి, దేశాల ప్రతినిధులకి, నా ముందు కూర్చున్నటువంటి నారాయణ గారికి, సుదర్శన్ గారికి, ఇతర కామ్రేడ్ సోదరులందరికీ కూడా ముందుగా నా హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి నమస్కారం. అట్లాగే సిపిఐ శత వసంతాల సందర్భంగా, అంటే 100 సంవత్సరాలు పూర్తి చేసుకున్నటువంటి సందర్భంలో దీనికి సంబంధించినటువంటి సమావేశాలు దేశంలో ఖమ్మం జిల్లాను ఎన్నుకోవటం, ఈ ఖమ్మం జిల్లాలో మీ అందరికీ మా పార్టీలు వేరేనా మీ అందరికీ ఆతిథ్యం ఇచ్చేటువంటి అదృష్టం మాకు రావటం నిజంగా మా అదృష్టంగానే భావిస్తా ఉన్నాం. మా జిల్లా, and I'm not talking about our own district people, I am trying to give the voice to the outsiders of the district. మా జిల్లా ఆతిథ్యం ఇవ్వటానికి, అనేక రకాలైనటువంటి భావజాలాన్ని ఆహ్వానించడానికి, అనేక రకాలైనటువంటి భావజాలాల వ్యాప్తి కూడా ఈ జిల్లా ఎప్పుడూ ఆహ్వానిస్తూనే ఉంటుంది. What I'm trying to say, Rajan Garu, this district is having a peculiar kind of a situation here. It always welcomes a different ideologies. It always absorbs different ideologies. It always allows and welcomes the deliberations on different ideologies. It's something like, extreme left-wing extremism to right-wing ideologies, till that it always welcomes everyone. On the same lines, today we are very fortunate to host from all over the country, not only the country, even from all over the world. Your delegates, you all have come here and participated in this district. It is a fortunate for the district and the political leaders from various parties also. We are so, proud to welcome and to give kind of atithya for all the delegates. Sir, భారతదేశ వామపక్ష ఆలోచన, చరిత్ర, భవిష్యత్తు అనే దానిపైన ఈ సమావేశంలో నన్ను కూడా పాల్గొని మాట్లాడవలసిందిగా పార్టీకి సంబంధించిన పెద్దలందరూ ఆహ్వానించారు. ఆహ్వానించినందుకు ముందుగా నా ధన్యవాదాలు. అట్లాగే మీ మహాసభ సందర్భంగా ఈ రాష్ట్ర ముఖ్యమంత్రి రేవంత్ రెడ్డి గారిని ఆహ్వానించి అందులో ఈ సందేశం ఇవ్వటానికి కూడా మీరు ఆహ్వానించారు. దానికి కూడా నా ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి అభినందనలు. ఈ సమావేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి వాళ్ళంతా కూడా దాదాపు నాకు తెలిసి మేధావులు. దే ఆర్ ఆల్ ఇంటలెక్చువల్ పీపుల్ అండ్ దే ఆర్ ఆల్ ట్రైంగ్ టు డూ సంథింగ్ టువర్డ్స్ ది సొసైటీ విత్ దేర్ కెపాసిటీస్ ఎట్ వేరియస్ లెవెల్స్. might be different levels, but all of them are trying to think and trying to do something towards best with a human touch to the society. So భారతదేశం ఈరోజు వామపక్ష భావజాలం కలిగినటువంటి రాజకీయ పార్టీలు అవసరం ఎంతైనా ఉందనేటువంటి పరిస్థితులు ఈరోజు దేశంలో మనకు కనిపిస్తా ఉన్నాయి. ప్రియమైన సహచరులారా, గౌరవనీయ వామపక్ష నేతలారా, మేధావులారా, యువ మిత్రులారా, మీ అందరికి కూడా ముందుగా లాల్సలా. సిపిఐ శత వసంతాలు కేవలం ఒక రాజకీయ పార్టీ వయసు కాదు. ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ జస్ట్ అన్ ఏజ్, ఇది ఒక ఆలోచన ప్రయాణం. ఇట్ ఇస్ నాట్ జస్ట్ అన్ ఏజ్, ఇట్ ఇస్ ఏ లాంగ్ జర్నీ ఆఫ్ పొలిటికల్ థాట్. ఈ సందర్భంగా వామపక్షాల చరిత్రను స్మరించుకుంటూనే ఆ ఆలోచన భారత సమాజంలో ఎలా రూపాంతరం చెందిందో కూడా ఎప్పుడు ఎలా స్పందించాలో ఆలోచించుకోవాల్సినటువంటి సమయం ఈరోజు ఆసన్నమైంది భారతదేశంలో. ముందుగా మనందరం ఈ ఆలోచన తీసుకున్నప్పుడు వీ విల్ టేక్ ది ఐడియాలజీ ఆఫ్ ది కార్ల్ మార్క్స్. కార్ల్ మార్క్స్ కమ్యూనిజం ఏం చెప్పాడనే దానిపైన మనందరం మాట్లాడుతూ ఉంటాం, దాని మీద ముందుకు పోతా ఉంటాం. ఏం చెప్పారు? కార్ల్ మార్క్స్ సమాజ అభివృద్ధి మోడ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొడక్షన్ ఆధారంగా సమాజం రూపాంతరం చెందుతూ ముందుకు పోతామని చెప్పాడు. అటువంటి రూపాంతరం చెందేటువంటి అనేక దశలు వారు వివరిస్తూ ప్రధానంగా ఈ సమాజాన్ని ప్రాథమిక కమ్యూనిజం అంటే ప్రిమిటివ్ కమ్యూనిజం, స్లేవ్ సొసైటీ, ఫ్యూడలిజం, క్యాపిటలిజం, సోషలిజం అండ్ కమ్యూనిజం ఈ రకంగా ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్ చెందుతూ ప్రపంచంలో హ్యావ్స్ అండ్ హ్యావ్ నాట్స్ మధ్యలో జరిగేటువంటి పోరాటంతో ఈ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ అంతా జరుగుతుంది. ఒక సైద్ధాంతికపరమైనటువంటి ఆలోచన ప్రపంచానికి అందించింది. ఇది యాదృచ్ఛికమైనటువంటి దశలు కావు. ప్రతి దశకి కూడా ఒక ఆర్థిక సామాజిక తత్వం ఉంది. ప్రతి దశకి ఒక ఆర్థిక సామాజిక తత్వం ఉంది. ఈ దశల్ని మనం అనేక రకాలుగా చూసినప్పుడు ప్రాథమిక కమ్యూనిజంలో అంటే ప్రిమిటివ్ కమ్యూనిజంలో మానవ చరిత్ర ప్రారంభ దశలో సంపత్తి వ్యక్తిత్వం వ్యక్తిగతం కాదు అన్నారు. సమూహాలు అన్నారు. అంటే ఇట్ బిలాంగ్స్ టు ది అటవీ వనరులు సమూహికంగా ఉండేది, అందరికి సంబంధించినటువంటి వనరులుగా ఉంది. ముఖ్యంగా గమనించాల్సింది ఈ దశలో స్త్రీల స్థానం తర్వాత దశల కన్నా ఎక్కువ గౌరవంగా ఉంది ప్రిమిటివ్ కమ్యూనిజం. ఆ తర్వాత వచ్చినటువంటి దాస్య సామంత వ్యవస్థలో వ్యవసాయం తయారీ పెరిగే కొద్ది సంపత్తి కొద్ది మందికి చేరింది. భారతదేశంలో కూడా ఈ దశ ఇది కేవలం ఒక సంబంధమైనటువంటి వర్గ పోరాటానికే కాకుండా వర్గ వ్యవస్థలకే కాకుండా కుల వ్యవస్థతో కూడా ముడిపడి మరింత కఠినంగా మారింది. కొందరు పాలకులు, కొంతమంది చాలా మంది పాలితులు. భూమి, శ్రమ, అధికారం అన్నీ ఒక చేతుల్లో కేంద్రీకృతమయ్యాయి. అటువంటి పరిస్థితుల్లో ఆ తర్వాత వచ్చినటువంటి ఫ్యూడలిజంలో సామంత వ్యవస్థలో సృష్టించిన సంపదే పూజ్యవాదాన్ని ఫ్యూడలిజానికి పునాది వేసింది. పరిశ్రమలు, మార్కెట్లు, డబ్బు ఆధిపత్యం పెరిగింది. మార్క్స్ అంచనా ఏమిటంటే ఈ దశలోనే వర్గ పోరాటం వస్తుందని చెప్పారు. క్లాస్ స్ట్రగుల్ తీవ్రంగా అవుతుంది. అది దట్ హ్యావ్స్ అండ్ హ్యావ్ నాట్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ఎ సీరియస్ ఫైట్ అండ్ అల్టిమేట్లీ ఇట్ విల్ లీడ్ టు అ సీరియస్ స్ట్రగుల్ అండ్ ఇట్ విల్ గో టు ద నెక్స్ట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్. ఈ వర్గ పోరాటం ద్వారా సోషలిజం మార్క్స్ అభిప్రాయం ప్రకారం వస్తుందని అంచనా వేశారు. కానీ ఆ వచ్చేది ఫ్యూడలిజం నుంచి సోషలిజం వరకు దారితీస్తుంది. సంపద సమాన పంపిణీ, శోషణ లేని సమాజం ఇదే కమ్యూనిజం యొక్క యుటోపియన్ లక్ష్యంగా భారతదేశం చెప్పారు. కానీ భారతదేశం ఈ విధానానికి పూర్తిగా భిన్నంగా కేవలం ఈ ప్రపంచంలో ఉన్నటువంటి అన్ని సోషల్ స్ట్రక్చర్స్ కంటే భారతదేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి సోషల్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అత్యంత క్లిష్టమైనటువంటి సోషల్ స్ట్రాటిఫికేషన్ ఉందని చెప్పి దీని భిన్నంగా ఒక జర్మన్ సోషియాలజిస్ట్ మ్యాక్స్ వెబర్ ఒక డిఫరెంట్ థియరీ తీసుకొచ్చారు. వాట్ ఈస్ ద థియరీ? దిస్ Karl Marx, whatever he has proposed, and the class struggle finally to lead to the communism and socialism may not be possible in a country like in India, where the social stratification is totally based on caste structure. That is where the haves and have-nots, this class struggle will never emerge, because it is a watertight compartment. Until unless you have a class struggle, it will not go to the communism or socialism. So first you need to have a class struggle in the society where to attain the communism or socialism. But contrary to that, Indian social structure and stratification is divided based on, not based on class, based on caste. That is where, and today the Karl Marx and Max Weber theory both are applicable. That is why today the Indian Communist parties also started thinking of how to take the people, masses, towards the fighting against the people who are exploiting the social wealth and country's wealth. So my understanding about this today's politics, if you see the kind of political party and the kind of governance in this country is taking in such a way, the whole society is polarized on religion, which is causing to the damage of various sections, and it has gone beyond the ideologies which is based on economy. It has gone into the hands of a different, భావోద్రేకాలతో కూడినటువంటి ఒక డిఫరెంట్ సొసైటీస్లోకి ఈరోజు పోరాటాలు చేసిపోయి ఈ క్లాస్ స్ట్రగుల్ అనేది లేకుండా చేసేటువంటి ఒక విధానానికి ఈరోజు నాంది పలుకుతూ భారతదేశ ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థ, భారతదేశ రాజకీయ వ్యవస్థకి, పార్లమెంటరీ డెమోక్రసీకి ఒక ప్రమాదకరంగా ఈరోజు దేశంలో పరిస్థితులు మారిపోయాయి. ఇటువంటి ఈ గివెన్ సిచ్యువేషన్లో ఈరోజు కమ్యూనిస్టుల పాత్ర ఈ దేశంలో చాలా ముఖ్యమైన పాత్రగా మారింది. ఈ పాత్ర మారినప్పుడు డెఫినెట్గా ద రోల్ ఆఫ్ కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీస్ ఇన్ దిస్ కంట్రీ ఇస్ వెరీ వెరీ important and relevant. So whenever the society of this country started struggling for the freedom or wealth or the equal distribution of wealth, all the time the communist parties were there and they have participated also. They have stood for the society. So as you said, sir, the 100 years of Communist Party have played a major and vital role during the time of freedom struggle. Now if you see the leaders like, those who are all participated in this movement, particularly Ayyadevara, Sarvadevapatla Ramanathan, Ram Narayan Reddy garu, Baddamella Reddy garu, Uchalpalli Sundaraya garu, Nalamala Giriprasad garu, Mukta Mohitan garu, Chirravari Lakshmanarayana garu, Bhimreddy Narasimhareddy garu, Dharmavishnu garu లాంటి నాయకులు ఆ రోజుల్లో కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీలకి ఈ సమాజానికి నాయకత్వం ఇస్తూ what exactly we want, they have fought and given this slogan. That slogan, I still remember, sir, when the Rajakars, when they are troubling the society of Telangana, apart from the government, the rest of the country, Hyderabad state was suffering so badly in the hands of the Rajakars, and the whole wealth is in the hands of the few feudal lords. These kind of leaders have come forward and started the agitation. That agitation is the armed struggle, peasants' armed struggle, which has really, given the light to the whole world. Why in Telangana the peasants have started taking the arms and fighting against the kingdom? When the whole country was fighting for the freedom and independence, unfortunately, in Telangana, Hyderabad state, people were fighting for the piece of land. That land, at that particular time only, this Communist Party has given a slogan, Dunnewar Ve Bhumi. Dunnewar Ve Bhumi. భూమి కోసం, భక్తి కోసం పోరాటాలని చెప్పి సంఘాలు ఏర్పాటు చేసి, గ్రంథాలను, ఉద్యమాలు ఏర్పాటు చేసి, అనేక రకాలైనటువంటి పోరాటాల నిర్మాణం చేస్తూ తుపాకులు కూడా తీసుకొని వచ్చి
రజాకారులకు వ్యతిరేకంగా పోరాటం చేస్తూ ఒక్కొక్క గ్రామం ఆ కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీ భావజాలంతో యువకులంతా పోగేసి ఆ రజాకారులకు వ్యతిరేకంగా నిలబడి పోరాటం చేయబట్టే ఈరోజు మీరు ఈ తెలంగాణ పరిసర ప్రాంతాల్లో ముఖ్యంగా ఖమ్మం కానీ వరంగల్ నల్లగొండ లాంటి జిల్లాల్లో చూస్తే ఏ గ్రామం పోయి తలుపు కొట్టి చూసినా ఆ గ్రామంలో ఏదో ఒక పోరాట గాథ ఆ రజాకారుల చేతుల్లో మరణించినటువంటి కుటుంబాలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి చరిత్ర మనకు కనిపిస్తూనే ఉంటుంది. అటువంటి పోరాటం నుంచి పుట్టినటువంటి ఈ ప్రాంతం తెలంగాణ హైదరాబాద్ స్టేట్, when the whole country was celebrating the freedom in 1947, August 15, this area, Hyderabad, the state was suffering. No, we couldn't get the freedom in the same year. The whole country was celebrating 1947, August 15, but we were struggling for our own freedom. It has taken more than a year for us to get the freedom. September 17th, 1948. Till then we were struggling. In that struggle, the Communist Party has played a very, very vital role. There is no second thought about it. Along with many other Communist Party leaders, even Communist Party leaders. Like today, even after getting the independence, where are we standing? What are the major issues that we are facing? Today we are facing fascist forces. These fascist forces are trying to create a kind of emotional sentiments towards on the name of religion and making the people and bringing the people together, forgetting about the economic issues and other social issues. And finally, they are surviving, coming to power and ruling and looting this wealth of this country also. They are paving the way to the corporate sector today. That sector today is trying to amass the wealth of this country and trying to dictate to the whole society and to the political parties. By which today they are posing a challenge to the parliamentary democracy itself. When money is playing a vital role, that money in these corporate sectors are amassing and they are supporting this kind of fascist forces, and they are bringing the various kinds of rules and regulations and acts, and finally making the people to depend like a slave the way it was in the hands of the feudal system. So once again, and today, the way the Communist Party is, they fought against those feudal structures. Today I think we all have to unite and fight against the capitalist and fascist forces. The Communist Party's role has become very important, and the democratic front is very much required. That is the reason in India, today India front, along with the CPI, other political party friends, left democratic front, has to come forward to fight against these forces. So sir, when we are going towards the serious debate on how to take the society towards the fight against these forces, how do you unite them? The polarization of the Indian society, how it takes place. If it really takes on the name of the class struggle, then it's fine. Haves and have-nots can be polarized, have-nots can come together and they can fight against it on the haves. But unfortunately, this is not taking place in this country. It is because of various other social factors. So my appeal to the Communist Party, because your presence, your ideology and your fighting is very much required to this country. So you also adapt and evolve as per the situation arises. When in the given changes, today we also have to evolve and adapt as per the present current situation to fight against the fascist forces. And you might have seen all the slogans, what all that you have given. Particularly, as our Chief Minister the other day mentioned,
Yeah, particularly as our chief minister mentioned the other day, when the communist parties have given a slogan, "Bunyavadi Bhumi," I still remember. After the government coming to power, Durgam, be then the chief minister, Bandhugal Narsingarao, be then revenue minister. They brought an act, Telangana Tenancy Act, 1950s. Till then, Raju Daivam Sabutra, the entire land belongs to the kingdom. No farmer is having any right on the land. Till we brought that act in the state of Hyderabad. After 1950s only, the Telangana Tenancy Act, which has made the lakhs and lakhs of farmers have the right on the land, and they have become the patadas as per the act. On the same lines, in 1970s, land reforms made the land to be distributed, taken the land. On the same line, banks rationalization. On the same lines, 25 economic program. On the same lines, today, Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Guarantee Scheme. On the same lines, today, a right to education, right to food security. All these acts have become reality in this country. Along with the Congress party, the communist parties are also there. They also have fought for these kinds of things. And finally, you fought, and they are there in the power that they brought the acts. So the success of all these acts, it is all because of all the political parties with all the ideologies of the communist parties. Today, they have become reality, and we will definitely go together and fight for the common man's rights and their economic strength. So my request to the leaders, those who all have come from all over the country to celebrate 100 years of celebrations, particularly in Khammam, we are all there to support your cause, and you have to go a long way, and this country needs all your ideology and your fighting spirit, and this country needs all the time to make the Indian democracy to live safely, particularly Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, whatever the constitution which has given to us, it has to be protected. As long as we protect the constitution will protect the common man of this country. That has to be the basic ideology of all of us. And today, unfortunately, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP government, is trying to snatch the voting rights of common man, and finally to change the constitution also, which will destabilize this country and common man's right. So let us unite, let us fight together, and I wish the movement and the journey has to go a long way. Thank you very much for inviting me and calling my activity.
ధన్యవాదాలు. రెండు లాంగ్వేజెస్ లో చెప్పారు అన్నారు కూడా. ఒక 2 నిమిషాలు కూర్చోండి దయచేసి. మన ప్రకాష్ బాబు గారు, మన సెక్రటేరియట్ కేంద్ర కార్యదర్శి వర్గ సభ్యులు, కేరళలో మన పార్టీ ప్రముఖ నాయకులు, వారు ఓటాచాన్ని చెప్పే ముందు ఒక 2 పాయింట్స్ మన హరగోపాల్ గారు, మా అందరూ తెలుసు, ఆయన చాలా పౌర హక్కుల నాయకుడు, ప్రొఫెసర్. ఆయన ఇలా వద్దామనుకున్నారు, రాలేదు. ఆయన ఆరోగ్య బాధ్యత ఒక నోట్ కూడా పంపించారు. దానిలో ప్రధానంగా భవిష్యత్తులో 2 మార్గాలు ఉంటాయి. ఒకటి సోషలిజం, 2 భారతదేశం. క్యాపిటలిజం దాటిపోయింది. భారతదేశం అంటే అనాగరిక, దాని ప్రోడక్ట్ మన ట్రంప్ అనే వ్యక్తి వినియోగించినటువంటి ఒక అనాగరికమైనటువంటి వ్యక్తి. దాని వ్యతిరేకమైనటువంటి కమ్యూనిస్టులు అందరూ కలిసి ఫైట్ చేయాలనేటువంటి సారాంశంతో ఆయన లెటర్ పంపించారు. హరగోపాల్ గారికి కూడా నేను ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేస్తూ, ఇప్పుడు నా ప్రకాష్ బాబు గారిని చెప్పవలసిందిగా నేను కోరుతున్నాను.
Bhatti is giving the mementos for the respected dignitaries. Give the mementos. Give the mementos. Comrades and friends, as you know, the seminar is in the middle of the National Assembly and we have to start the National Assembly at the Supplementary Hall.
పక్క పెడదాం మళ్ళీ పెడతాం మైకులు ఓడోడు